Um, okay. Now, I'll just introduce myself a little bit. I was in Australia for 27 years now, and I've got a gorgeous family of 4 daughters and my wife. You want to put up your hands? Over there. The reason why I have to introduce these people is because we're talking about a very serious topic about domestic violence, and I think the guys are more responsible for this. So you guys are witnesses. If there's anything that you want to say to the public about me, please feel free. I'm a high school teacher, but in addition to that, I am interested in research. I've been working with young people of African migrant descent, looking at how they experience their cultural identities in their diaspora context. So I'm definitely interested in seeing young people of African descent developing cultural competence, whereby they're able to be comfortable in the diaspora. Okay, but this occasion is about Tinashe. So firstly, I will begin by congratulating Tinashe. For this remarkable achievement of putting together an incredible personal experience of domestic abuse in a book publication. Tinashe chose to go public with her story because she believed that people will learn from her personal experience. The courage to share this harrowing story through a publication is a very important contribution towards conversations about domestic violence. I'm confident that Tinashe's work will create awareness about the subject and consequently further evidence-based dialogue about the prevalence of domestic violence in our communities. Tinashe's work raises issues about cultural socialization and values which may have contributed to her own inability to respond promptly to the domestic abuse she had to put up with for 3 years. The first one is that of patriarchy in African cultures, whereby the power relations in most African cultures favor men over women. Subservience of women is a norm. It is a normalized practice through symbolic cultural practices such as dowry payments and polygamy. Tinashe explains these issues of gender inequity and links them to her own upbringing, which rendered her powerlessness to deal with the abusive boyfriend. She grew seeing women enduring abusive relationships without thinking of alternatives. These are issues that concern Tinashe, but they are also issues we need to deal with. It's no longer acceptable to assume that the heritage we have inherited from our ancestors should stay as it was. That somehow we should not question the moral and ethical basis of this heritage is not acceptable. Culture is not set in stone, as globalization and mobility of labor brings us into contact with different cultures. The issue of African cultural evaluation is imperative. We can no longer glorify our traditions as a protective veil for oppressive gender relations. We do need to subject our cultural heritage to philosophical scrutiny and get rid of the rubbish contained in it, but keep the good stuff that aligns with ethical behavior and scientific evidence. The second important issue raised by Tinashe is that of parenting and intergenerational communication. Tinashe discusses the problem of authoritarian parenting, which does not encourage questioning and expression of opinion. This in turn translates into timidity and low self-confidence. Tinashe elaborates on her own dilemmas of not being able to speak out her mind about stuff. This is another area of ethical concern. How should we raise our sons and daughters so that they achieve gender equity and respect each other? How do we raise our children in terms of gender and power relations so that they can be able to interact with their spouses when they become adults? Our community education goal should be to challenge discourses that suggest that males are superior to females, but also the notion of domestic abuse needs to be elaborated and explicitly taught through conversations between parents and the young ones. Most importantly, behaviors of gender equity need to be modeled by parents so that the young ones can see that parents are walking the talk. This is what makes Tinashe's book a very valuable resource, because she has provided us with a portrait of domestic abuse, hence bringing clarity to the notion of domestic abuse. Tinashe narrates the harrowing experience of domestic abuse with humor, a writing style which sometimes gets me confused because I was actually angry with the whole experience and that she had gone through. It turns out that the essence of the book is to inspire others, and I think in that regard, Tinashe has achieved that objective. Congratulations, Tinashe. Thank you.